Hey, yo, welcome to the Inflection Podcast. It is my pleasure today to have here with me, Jaeden Schafer, host of the AI podcast, a really great AI podcast. We'll link to it in the show notes with over 2 million downloads and counting. Thank you so much, Jaden, for hopping on board with us.
Yeah, super stoked to be here and be on your legendary podcast.
Legendary. I don't know about that. But thank you. I really appreciate it. When we met, I was blown away by just the level of effort you've put into growing your podcast. You one of the most prolific podcasters out there that I know who's in my network. And I wanted to bring you on board just to chat about origin story in the first place, like AI. How did you decide, oh, I'm going to run an AI podcast and stick with it to over 2 million downloads?
Yes, my background is in originally marketing. When I was in college, my wife and I we launched a software startup called Self Pause. So it's the number one AI life coach. And then that's where I got into software and we got into AI. And then we started having a bunch of new AI ideas right after ChatGPT launched. Our mind was blown, and we got this idea for a software company called AI Box, which we're currently running, which is a no-code AI app builder and marketplace. And just like getting ready for the launch of the platform, I was like, I should start a podcast just to start like getting an audience and have some people
Yeah.
I can talk to about this thing. So I started in February last year, and then the podcast just blew up and really quickly rose to 100,000 monthly listeners. And yeah, that wasn't like I set out to be like a podcaster per se, but just getting it as a marketing channel for the software, and it just grew by itself.
Man, and you were able to actually leverage that network through the podcast to do what 500 or $600,000 raise and counting?
Yeah, yeah. We raised like $100,000 to start our pre-seed round, and then we did a crowdfunding campaign, which is largely just through the podcast, and raised another 500,000 through the podcast. So yeah, 600 total in our pre-seed for AI Box, and that really blew me away by just how powerful a podcast can be, how solid that audience
Absolutely.
is. It wasn't something I'd even really monetized that much. The podcast is mostly just something I was doing to grow an audience, and was blown away by like how valuable the audience of a podcast can be.
That just blows my mind. So leveraging that audience, grew it that way, crowdsourced, right? That's like crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
Did you use a specific platform for that? Or you
I used
reached out to
Republic. There's a bunch of
okay.
different ones. Republic, WeFunder. Republic was pretty good to us. So yeah, it was a good option.
Okay. Hey, if you have an affiliate link for that. But one of the things, so with the company you and your wife launched in college, you grew that over time. You brought in, I think from our conversation earlier, one thing that stood out to me was figuring out key partnerships from the get go. What did that look like for you? Because I think you have a CTO, right? And then you co-founder, CEO, and then your wife is also a partner. What did that look like divvying up responsibilities? And did you know right off the bat, we need key partners here, or was that something that just happened?
I think definitely for Self Pause, that was like my first shot at doing a software company. And so there's a lot of learning I think that went into that one in particular. But yeah, what I'd say if anyone is interested in starting a software company and you're not like a technical, if you're not a coder, definitely you need a co-founder that's got equity in the company that is the technical co-founder. When we first launched, originally we just went and got an outsourced team in India to build the app. But it's really hard because there's no such thing as you pay a price and get something built for you. There's always going to be bugs. It's always going to need maintenance. Like it's just an ongoing thing. And yeah, it wasn't like it was just magically done. And so very quickly after we did that, we launched it, got like 15,000 users, had a YouTuber post a video about it, and it went viral. So we got like 15,000 users, and we're like, okay, it's got somewhat product market fit. People are interested in it. So we then got an American CTO and rebuilt the entire thing from scratch. And
How long did that take? That rebuilding it from scratch to launch again
uh,
or relaunch?
probably like probably 6 to 9 months, I
6 to
think.
9 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the
So
interim, you were growing the core product while you rebuilt this other version? In the interim, as you rebuilt the product, did you keep maintain the other one and users
it
kept
was
growing?
hard. We tried and we did a lot, but I think it wasn't too bad. It was actually, I think, free. So it wasn't even paid. It was just free at the beginning. So that's why we weren't like too concerned about it. but it
Yeah.
did have a bunch of bugs. And I think by the last like month, I just took it off the app store because yeah, it was too broken. Like
Yeah.
a certain amount of time had passed and it had just broken. So we just pulled it down. But yeah, otherwise it was up for most of the time, and it was free. So we didn't like, it got users and stuff, and that was cool, but it wasn't making money. So we were really just focused on getting the new one out.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That always intrigues me, like when products make a pivot, either rebuilding or even changing the whole business model. It's always interesting to see one how much churn you get with you frustrations. Maybe you are pushing bug fixes or new features to the old one. So like frustrations around that, or some companies go the route of just pausing the whole thing and rebuilding and then reaching out to users. So that's always interesting for me, partly because as a product guy, something I have to deal with a lot of times. So I want to see what folks are doing out there in the wild.
Yeah, for sure.
You've built this cool reputation as the AI guy, the AI chat podcast. Is that what it's called? Let me see
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
Okay, I
AI
was like,
chat.
does that sound right? AI chat podcast. You've built a reputation as the AI guy. Building that wasn't always the case. You had to learn a lot, right, on the fly. What did that look like? What does your news feed look like to learn and see what's going on, so you can then digest it, deconstruct, and then share in a easy to understand format on your podcast?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, so I essentially share a daily podcast episode covering some sort of AI news topic. And so a big part of that for me is just like on social media or on everywhere else. Yeah, you're right. My feed is just like AI news, AI technology stuff. There's a lot in there too of like just personal interest. But yeah, I go through, I've got a bunch of different newsletters I'm subscribed to. I have a bunch of different news websites I'll go and check out to see who's investing and who's spending money, who's building what, and then testing out demos. LinkedIn also is a great place to see a
Yeah,
lot of
I
news
love
on
it.
AI. I get a lot of that on LinkedIn as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course X, you get a lot of that too.
Yeah, I haven't really figured out X yet. It's so weird to call it X. I always want to default to Twitter. I think a lot of people share that sentiment, but like LinkedIn, feel like I'm decent at LinkedIn, but X is just Wild West. That does sound a bit like a punchline. Still, for me, same with Facebook and IG, but X even more so. I, it's just wild.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
no, 100%. Somehow LinkedIn, yeah, it's super easy. Same. You post on LinkedIn, even if I only get like 10 likes on a post, like I get 10 likes on a post, I post on X and it's like usually 0 likes. So it's funny. I haven't cracked that either. I'll crack it at some point. I have some friends that are doing good there. And I guess a lot of it is like networking and knowing people on there or
yeah, eventually. I'll look at that at some point. Right now, I'm really bullish on LinkedIn and just leveraging that. I have some like LinkedIn growth cohorts I'll be running to show folks how to, leverage the platform, because I've really grown on the platform in the past couple of years, just from trial and error, a lot of pain, a lot of, hard knocks of what not to do. But yeah, it's for now until maybe it gets saturated at some point. But the opportunity there is like huge. Think a billion users. Now I don't know how many of those are chat but are like fake profiles or threat actors, but I would assume majority of the billion are legit profiles.
yeah.
And a lot of them have a high intent, right? To buy or to engage, given that it's a more professional setting. So I think that does raise a lot of opportunity.
I think just the quality of users on LinkedIn is something that's awesome about it. A lot of professionals.
Absolutely. Well, one other thing, so your background is as a digital marketer, growth hacker. How does that play into one your podcast strategy and also even the AI box you're building? Like, would you say like your digital marketing experience has been very helpful? I would assume it is, but I'm curious to hear in your own words.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's anyone building any sort of business today, if you're getting started from scratch, you definitely have to think about the opportunities, the arbitrage, the growth hacks that you can use to get it kicked off. A big part of what we're doing at AI Box, focusing on growth, is going to be podcasting. I'm currently building out a podcast network. So a bunch of different podcasts in the technology space. hosted. I have different hosts coming on and different things and growing those out and using that as a medium for advertising for the platform. I've seen a ton of potential with newsletters. So we have a newsletter that's also doing pretty well that I've just grown. And then we're also doing like Discord and Facebook groups doing good for like building our core audience of like creators that'll be on our platform building apps.
Yeah,
It's like a good place to go.
that's amazing. You're literally building a whole network, media network across multiple channels. And I think that's where, so I'm bullish on AI as well. And it presents a fascinating, I don't know if I'd say problem, but let's just use the word problem, because there is a proliferation of AI tools, AI resources, AI everything. But with all of that, there's already a lot of content, even non-AI generated content, human
Yeah.
generated content, there's a lot of that already. And when we add AI into the mix with the possibilities it brings for scale, right? That just a lot more content, a deluge of content. But I do see and predict that a lot of people will crave the, don't just give me cookie cutter AI content. I want like the real details. I want the human elements, the human interaction. So podcasts have been growing over the years, but I think podcasts will grow even a lot more because I don't want to listen to there's some podcasts literally that it's AI reading the stuff. So I think people are gravitating towards more human stuff, like real life stuff. So that's something that I see, like people are wanting more authenticity, wanting interactions with other humans or content by other humans. But I think they also resist the opportunity for media empires and companies that are curating the content, whether it's human generated or even AI generated, because there's so much of it as a person, as a consumer. I don't want to wade through the muck online trying to find crap, which there's a lot of that. So the companies that are curating that and making it super easy for me to find X, to find what I want, I think a lot of people will gravitate towards paying those companies and there's opportunity there. What do you think? That's just a lot I threw in there. But what are your thoughts, like AI
Yeah.
on one end, human
It's
generated stuff, media,
it
the future of media?
Yeah, no, it's always been my thesis. So before I started AI chat, I actually, for my last startup, Self Pause, did an experiment where I built a podcast network and just used an AI voice. It was pretty good from Well Said Labs. They have a pretty decent voice that sound pretty realistic. I think
Yeah.
today I probably would use like 11 Labs. They're probably maybe better. I don't know. They both have some good options. In any case, yeah, and I scaled two podcasts to like over 50,000, maybe 100,000 listens on downloads on both of them just with
Yeah.
AI content.
Oh my
Just pushed
God.
it towards downloading the app. And that was cool, but I did find that I think one of the biggest things is like you could probably get listens if you can figure out the organic growth strategies. But if you want the value of the podcast is like people feeling connected to you. So it's not just
Yeah,
like seeing an ad on a website versus your favorite influencer that you actually follow being like, no, seriously, this thing's like actually really useful. Go try it. It's like 100 times more likely that you're going to go buy something with that sort of like referral. And I
totally.
think that's what it is with podcasting. Yeah, you can make an AI thing and throw an ad on there and maybe something will happen, but it's a lot higher quality if it's this is me, you see my picture of the cover of the podcast, I'm talking, sharing my personal experiences, then you build a connection with me and then it's more trustworthy. And so that was my thesis from the beginning. So when I started AI chat, I like knew how to and had successfully done the AI thing, but intentionally chose to just have my own insights and my own voice and focus on like building a really authentic medium because I'm
Yeah.
like, I saw how crazy AI was going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only going to get crazier here. I'm very keen to see how it continues to evolve and seeing players in the game leverage the heck out of it. Because I do see it as an amplifier for work that we're doing. You can work a lot faster, have a solid first draft or improvement on your first draft. So there's just so many ways to go about that. And then the software engineering and building apps, AI box, it should be launching here. AI box is launching soon, right? In a couple months,
Yep.
hopefully.
In the next 3 months, we'll have our alpha out. So it's gonna be
Great.
yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's a big moment for us.
Phenomenal. Again, we'll link to that in the show notes for this episode. But appreciate you, Jaden. I'm very enthused that you got to come on. I'm excited, yeah, to keep making ship happen out there.
Thanks so much. It's been amazing coming on the show.